everyone, it is Yumina. I hope you all are doing well. In today's video, I want to talk about identity, not my identity 100%, but identity, how other people perceive us, and just how it's nice to be able to express ourselves about who we are when it comes to our racial, cultural identities and our backgrounds. And I was thinking about this when I was on my way home from work today. I've been thinking about multiple things and just like thinking about ways to like speak about them in a compilation so that it makes sense and is coherent. And also with it's unfortunate, but I enjoy the exotical community. As I mentioned before, it helped me to embrace the fact that I'm multi-generationally mixed, especially from my father's side. My mother's side, I'm not really sure about that facet of it. I know we're African American on that side, and European American possibly on that side. But anyway, with my father's side, I know that I'm MGM. So that's one factor. I was able to embrace that with finding the exotical community. Unfortunately, there have been like things coming up for different people who once associated with the exotical community, because it's a group of imperfect people who have their own opinions about how people should identify, and it's actually no one's place to tell people how to identify. So yeah, with the Louisiana Creoles, people have been trying to tell people how they look and how they should identify, and that's no one's place. And also with some people trying to tell people how to identify if they identify as an exotical for whatever reason. I'm just like, yeah, it's no one's place to tell anyone. And if anyone is going to try to argue down someone's identity, it's definitely doesn't make people feel welcome. Like Lexi's been mentioning that, and that's unfortunate. But I know at the same time, like, there are people think differently, unfortunately, from each other, to the point that they actually will cause arguments and fights amongst people who are supposed to be part of the same community. So that's been happening online, unfortunately. But I found Louisiana Creoles online, thankfully, due to the exotical community, because not only did the exotical community help me to embrace my being MGM, but it also helped me to look up Louisiana Creoles, because I found out, I had originally stated online that I found out in like 2015 that from my auntie that I had Louisiana Creole from my father's side, and it actually turned, and then I did my DNA test in 2016 and it was confirmed. But it turns out I actually found that out from my auntie in 2011. I was like looking up the notes that she had sent me. She wrote me a letter because I had asked her a whole bunch of questions about the family, and she had written me a letter in 2011, and she answered all those questions and brought up our Louisiana Creole heritage as well. So I was just like, oh my goodness. So that's why I started looking up Louisiana Creoles when I actually became part of the exotical community, and that's why I do have a playlist with Louisiana Creole content creators. So, and then yeah. So anyway, I wanted to just bring out a few stories, and then I'm going to end it with Beyoncé, and you'll see how. Okay, so when I was in college, there were multiple groups of people of color. There were very few of each group. So there was Asian Americans, there were Native Americans, there were Latinos, African Americans, biracial, mixed people, and what's the other one? I feel like I'm always missing someone. So those were all the people of color. And then there were white students at our school as well. And I feel like with how many students we had on our campus, I feel like the people of color made up the biggest part of the population together over the white students, but I'm not really sure of that. But I had tried to enter a club my first year at college, and I forget what the club was about. I think it was like some kind of leadership club, and I don't even remember who was in the club when it comes to like race or ethnicity. I just know I was there, and there was a white lady there, and we were the same age, and we were having a argument because she thought it was okay to call me a minority to my face when I said I don't like that word. That sounds really rude. It sounds dismissive. I didn't even have 100% of the vocabulary at the time that I wanted to say that it sounds highly disrespectful for you to call me minority when I already said I don't like it. And she kept doing it, so I left the group. I left this club, and I never went back because this girl wanted to be in the club. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this kind of thing, because if someone is not going to listen to me when I say don't call me that, just because, and you think it's okay to call me that just because it's like a fact, when I said I think it's rude, I can't deal with it because it's disrespectful, and you're not respecting me when I'm just asking you to do something simple that will make me feel comfortable. So I was like, I'm not dealing with this, because yeah, even if minority is actually a word for people of color, if a person of color asks you not to call them something, don't call them something if you're trying to be a good human being. So I was like, this is really dumb, and I don't use that word to call people of color anything, because even if the numbers are accurate, that does not mean I'm gonna call another human being something that sounds rude when you're most of the time we're not talking numbers. Like, we're talking about human beings and their experiences or whatever in life. So I was just like, I don't like that. So yeah, and it's basically the same if anyone doesn't want you to call them a slur or derogatory word and they let you know, like, literally give them that respect and don't call them that. So I was just like, yeah, this is dumb. So the other thing is, when it comes to identity, I mentioned before in a previous video that I didn't know Meghan Markle was biracial until 2016, when Wendy Williams called Meghan Markle black, and I was very shocked when I found that out. I was like, what is going on here? Black. And the reason why, I was like, I don't know, I listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube, so I get different things coming out to me. So I first found out about Meghan Markle because I watched 2 or 3 movies of hers, and in one of the movies she had parents, and the parents were white Americans, and I was like, okay. But I just found out listening to a YouTube video in the last week or so that the TV show, I think it's called a TV show, the Suits program, I don't remember if it was a sitcom, but it was like a series on TV that Meghan Markle was a part of. I knew about that series, I just never had watched it. And by the time I became aware of her, she was not on that show anymore. I don't know if it was discontinued or she just left it before they discontinued it. But I knew she was dating the prince and all that stuff. So I found out that in that show, she was actually a biracial character. So if I had been aware of that show and her character being biracial, I probably would have known she was biracial this whole time. But it took Wendy Williams calling her black, the black princess, for me to recognize, oh, this lady is biracial, she's not black, right? And that's the other thing I want to say. If you are biracial and you want to identify as black, that's your prerogative, but also, like, feel comfortable enough to say you're biracial at times too. And I might bring up something else later with that. So anyway, so yeah, I found out that also Meghan Markle also, like, regularly identifies as biracial, and I appreciate that. So there's some things I might bring up that are not going to be in chronological order as I planned on, but I will continue on. So with the Mowry Twins, I grew up watching the Mowry Twins on Sister Sister, and I think I only found some of their other movies later on, but I had no idea until, I don't even remember which year it was, but it was more recently. It was like in the last, we're in 2025, so sometime in the last 10 years I found out that they were biracial, and I was like so happy and shocked about that. So I don't know how popular they were. It feels like when I'm online, everybody knows about the Mowry Twins from when we used to all watch Sister Sister. So that makes sense. I don't know how many people knew that they were biracial before I came upon that information. I forget how and why I came upon that information, but I started getting acquainted with them again once I found Lilly Singh on YouTube. Lilly Singh is a Canadian woman of Indian descent who lives in the USA now, and she's one of my favorite YouTubers who has gone on to do many other things. But she ended up, I thought she was one of the Mowry twins when I first saw her on YouTube. They don't even look alike properly, but I thought she was one of the Mowry twins. She ended up collaborating with the Mowry twins, doing like different YouTube videos. I think mostly with Tia. I don't think she really did any videos with Samara, but she's done a few videos with Tia, I believe. Anyway, so I didn't find out they were biracial until like sometime in that, maybe the 2015, 2016, 2017 time frame. I was shocked, and I was just like, I think I thought, as I've said before with myself, I identified as a little black girl when I was growing up, and then I thought I was mixed, and then I just went back to thinking I was a little black girl and a little light-skinned black girl specifically. And so I saw myself in the Mowry twins. Even though I thought our hair was very different from each other, I still enjoyed them. And it wasn't even about like seeing them as representation. I like to see people of color on TV no matter what their background was, but obviously they looked more like me being a woman of African descent. You know what I mean? So yeah, I did not know, and I was so glad to find out that they are biracial. From what I understand, Tia, I don't know. I think they both identify interchangeably as biracial and black. I don't remember which one it is, but yeah. So that was a shocker for me, and I was glad to know, because I like to know what people are when, when it's proper for me to know, because I'm not trying to be in everyone's business all the time. Okay, so in 2022, I think it was, I had a coworker. I'm going to tell you just a few things about him. I don't know if they're really pertinent to the information I'm going to share, but he was a white American, married to a white lady, had a baby, and he is atheist. I don't know if that's pertinent to the information. And I think he voted for Barack Obama when he was, the previous times he was president. So, and I'm not too good on president time frames, so excuse me. But anyway, we had a conversation. I forget why we were talking about. Oh, I think I know. I don't remember really why. But anyway, we were having a conversation, and Barack Obama was mentioned, and he was like, oh, he was the first black president. I was like, he's not black, he's biracial. And not to dismiss if Barack Obama wants to identify as black, but literally it's okay to recognize that he's biracial too, right? So I was like, he's the first president who has African ancestry. He's the first president who's biracial. And I was saying that, and he was like, he's black. I was like, no, he's biracial. He's black. No, he's biracial. And I don't understand why that was so hard for him to accept. And I don't know how common that is for people to see people who are biracial. I don't know how common it is for people, because the black community, we see multiple things when it comes to biracial people, but I wonder how common it is for the white community to only see someone one way. Because when Barack Obama was president, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, but when Barack Obama was president, and I always saw him as biracial, but I also knew right away that he was biracial because that information was brought out to me. I came to work one day, there was a newspaper article on the front page, and I was like, why is the president in the news, right? I was very confused, and it turns out it wasn't the president. and it turns out it was a Latino man in a um from a I think he was like actually in his country of origin, and he was on the front page of our paper, and they were talking about something related to farming or something. And this man could have been Barack Obama's twin, but this man was a Latino man. To me, when I see Barack Obama, I see a mixed man. I don't see like what people like to say as a typical black man. I always saw him like, I just see that he's mixed. I don't know how, it's just that I see it, and then I already knew because it was made clear to me. And so when I saw this Latino man, I didn't see a black man. I saw the president, who was mixed looking to me. And then I found out he was Latino and that he was, doing something in his country. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, I saw his twin in a Latino man, right? That's crazy. So, yeah, this coworker of mine considered Barack Obama to be black. And I was just like, but he's biracial. Like, why is that so hard to accept? That's so weird to me, right? So then, okay, I'm going to do the Beyonce thing last. But when I was growing up in New York City, I mentioned that I enjoyed asking people who were mixed, like what they were mixed with, where they were from, whatever. And I got to a point when I started to feel like people didn't really like that question. It's probably because they were being asked that question all the time by strangers. So I stopped doing it. But I grew up with my 3 cousins who are biracial, Jewish and black, or Jewish and African American. And I remember just before I was going to college, I had asked my cousin, oh, how do you identify? Do you identify as white or black? This was before I knew they were Jewish. I thought they were white and black. I didn't know that they were black and Jewish. So I was just like, how do you identify? And they were like, oh, black. Like, and that was, I didn't ask all 3 of them. My apologies. I asked the oldest one. Me and him are the closest in age. And I asked him, how do you identify? And he said black. And I was like, good. That's how you should identify. What nonsense. What nonsense for me to say that to my cousin. First off, if people look at my cousins, they would not see a black person. They might see a mixed person. They might see someone that they think is like Latino, Latina. They might see someone that they might think is white American, but they won't see someone that they think is black right away. So what nonsense for me to even like think my cousin should be only identifying as black. Yes, you can identify as black if you're mixed or biracial, but you should also be able to claim all parts of yourself, no matter who your family is. And I've posted that in my community tab with the mixed persons. Anyway, I forget the I should have pulled stuff up. Anyway, apologies for not pulling up stuff. So I said that to my cousin when I was just a year from going to college. And then when I went to college, immediately, left and right, I was accepting people as being biracial and letting them say that they could even identify as just one part of their biracialness, but also realizing that they're always biracial. So I had a best friend who was African American and Native American. I had friends who were Native American and white American, friends who were let me see, black and white. She was my good friend. A good friend who was black and white, that people told her that she looked like Aaliyah. Yeah, so when I went to college, all of a sudden here I am accepting people as biracial, no matter how they looked, as long as they were biracial or mixed, I was accepting it. But with my cousins, I was acting like, oh, you have to identify one way, when they literally would not be perceived as being black by most people until they told the person that they were biracial. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I had to learn to stop thinking a certain way about certain things, and I will do a video on that later because I didn't do a video on that. So I had to accept, like, people are biracial regardless of how they look to me, as long as that is who they actually are, and that's who they let me know that they are, because it's not my right to know who people are. But if we're going to get into that conversation, they feel comfortable divulging information to me, I'm always up to like hear about it, because I love learning about people and learning about the differences and the harmonies and all the good things that make people people. So I came to accept that like right away upon going to college, even though I was acting weird towards my own cousin, and I haven't done that since. And yeah, I have 3 biracial cousins. Technically, I have 5, but 3 that I know best. And then I have 3 mixed cousins, because one of their parents is biracial, European and biracial, like from a European country, and he's biracial. And then one parent is African American and from this country. So that's that. Okay, so on to Beyonce. So in January of this year, I had a conversation with one person about Beyonce. I don't remember why we were talking about Beyonce. I was probably talking about I was probably referencing talking points from the exotical community without talking about the exotical community. But I was like talking about Beyonce, and I was just like, oh yeah, Beyonce's mixed. That just came up, right? Beyonce's mixed. Her mom is mixed. Her dad is African American, and she's mixed, right? So this person accepted that, but at the same time said she's black because of the one drop rule. And I was like, but the one drop rule is racist, right? So like we're literally having this whole entire conversation, right? One drop rule is racist. Beyonce is mixed. I'm like, if anyone looks at Beyonce, do you see someone who is only black? Do you see someone who only, yeah, do you see someone who's only black? Like seriously, I don't. I never did, but I also did not grow up thinking about like Beyonce's identity, because I did consider her to be part of the black community, but I didn't know I didn't take into consideration all the aspects of her essence and what made her her, because I don't know her, so I didn't really think past that. So we had this conversation. Then same person, same day, within minutes of having this conversation, that she's mixed, her mom's mixed, her dad's African American, one drop rule is racist, you can't think like that. We got into this conversation of Beyonce. I'm going to read this from Google, because the same person mentioned that there was going to be a course on Beyonce. So Yale University, this is Google, Yale University was going to offer a course this spring, 2025, called Beyonce Makes History, Black Radical Tradition, Culture, Theory, and Politics Through Music. So they were going to explore Beyonce's work from 2013 to 2024 as a lens for understanding black history, intellectual thought, and performance, right? And so all these different things are going to be discussed. Course focus, there's going to be course focus, course content, black radical tradition, intellectual depth. So all these things related to Beyonce's influence on black culture. So same person, same breath almost. This person called Beyonce mixed, but also called her black, but also said that Beyonce doesn't seem like the epitome of black culture for a college course. And I was like, but how? So even though Beyonce is mixed, and she's mixed in the opposite way that I'm mixed, so her mom is mixed and her dad is African American, my dad is mixed and my mom is African American, even though I'm still trying to figure out if we do have mixedness, MGM on my mom's side. I know about it on my father's side, so I'm still trying to figure that out. But so basically Beyonce and I have our mixedness and our black heritage from the opposite parents of each other. And the person I was speaking with recognized that Beyonce is mixed and she's black, but she's not mixed. She's just black, right? So I was so confused. I was like, how is she not mixed, but not the right person to study black culture in this particular course? Or she is black, but she's still not the right person to study in this course, right? I hope I said that right, because I'm trying to say is basically I was getting the opposites from this conversation, even though this course is going to be done, this course was done on Beyonce, if I'm understanding right, because it's still spring, it's 2025 now, so this course has already probably been done because everybody's starting to graduate from high school, colleges, every schools are starting to let out in some places in the country. So yeah, this course has been done and Beyonce was a focus. So even though Beyonce is mixed, she has always been like a part of what is black music and black culture. And so I'm literally not surprised because she has, even if she hasn't influenced a whole bunch of people, she has a big fan base of a lot of people from the black community. So it really didn't shock me, and I really didn't get into that part of the conversation with the person I had this conversation with. I was just extremely confused that this was such a contrarian, I think that's the way I want to say it, like such a contrarian conversation from the same person about this, about Beyonce. So Beyonce is mixed, she's not mixed, she's not the proper representation for a course, a college course about black culture and music. I was very confused about this because I consider her to be the epitome. Like, I was surprised because like I didn't know they were doing college courses on celebrities and famous people in music. So I was surprised about that. But she's literally a trendsetter when it comes to that kind of thing. Like, she is like one of the perfect people to study. Could have been Michael Jackson. It could have been Diana Ross. It could have been, I was about to say Bruno Mars, but Bruno Mars is mixed and he's not mixed with African descent. So yeah, it could have been any one of those people, but they picked Beyonce, and I really think she's appropriate because she's been so popular for so many people for 20 plus years. So yeah, I was like, I'm not confused. I don't know why anyone else would be confused. I hope the course went well. But yeah, so I think that's the end of my video. Basically, like, don't let people tell you how to identify because people don't know us. And like, thankfully with me from my father's side, I'm learning more about my family. I know less stuff about my mom's side. And when I do that video that I keep saying that I'm going to do, I will talk a little bit more about that. But the exotical community helped me to embrace aspects of myself that I didn't really know about, or that I didn't really think I could embrace because I didn't know 100% about them. And even though I still don't know 100% about everything about my racial, ethnic backgrounds, I still am more aware of it than I used to be, and I can embrace that even though I have not done family trees. I haven't done any extra research. I love that Lexi, hey Lexi, I love that Lexi does all the research and shares all the research that she does, because I don't even know the beginnings of how to do that. And yeah, and I'll get into that in my other video. I'll bring some stuff out that I didn't bring out here. So I have multiple videos that I'm going to do just talking about random things that I've been thinking about. Hopefully they will make sense to you. Basically, if you're mixed or biracial, accept who you are, feel comfortable in yourself to be able to, and I'm still working on this for myself too, but feel comfortable with yourself to be able to use things interchangeably. So you can say that you're black, you're white, you're mixed, you're biracial, and just know that that's comfortable for you and not feel uncomfortable. And I guess I forgot to bring this out. So I I used to watch Fox Soul. I don't watch it anymore. I don't even know if they still exist. But Claudia Jordan, who's a biracial woman who has been a video vixen back in the day, has been a TV personality, been on different TV reality television shows, I believe, too. She has the Accidentally Informed podcast with Erica, and they've been doing that together, and I've been enjoying it. But when Claudia Jordan was on Fox Soul, they used to talk about different subjects, a lot of subjects related to the black community, and Claudia would always claim, "Oh, I'm a black woman, I'm a black woman," and I was like, she's biracial, right? So even more recently, I was feeling like, yes, you're black, but at the same time, please don't feel uncomfortable claiming as a biracial woman who is black too or something. So I was always like concerned, because I was like, I don't want her to feel like she has to downplay one side of her identity because she's talking about the other side of her identity. So I always was feeling a little torn about that expression, but it's not my place to tell people how to express themselves. So I appreciate how Claudia Jordan expresses herself, but at the same time, she knows who she is. She doesn't need me to tell her who she is. And yeah, so I appreciate the exotical community for that, but I feel like at one point in the future, God will help me to learn more about my family's background and everything, if he deems it to be important. But yeah, so that is the end of my video. I'm gonna listen to the playback and see if this is postable. You all have a good night, and I will talk to you all later. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, bye. Take care. Bye. Thanks for watching.